Hello, 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 hello. This is Father Adam greeting you with more good news on this Good Friday that I know you can use in your daily life. When I was in Crescent City, California, which is a town on the coast of California, lots of big storms happen there. And one time I'm visiting this family during one of these storms. The lights went out. The wind is so strong, it's rocking the house. And everybody is all worried, filled with fear, except the 7-year-old boy who is playing in the corner as if nothing. And so I go up to him and I ask him, well, aren't you afraid like everybody else? Aren't you scared? And he says to me, looking at me intently, no, I'm not scared. And I said to him, why? Why aren't you scared? And he says, because my daddy is home. My daddy is home. Why should I be scared when my daddy is home? In the midst of our own storms in this life that come our way, what is our response to the storm? Remember, Jesus said we are to build our life on the rock which is He. He is the cornerstones. The cornerstone, as the Bible says, rejected by the builders, obviously. The cornerstone rejected by the builders, but it has become the main cornerstone, the Bible says, on which everything is built. Rejected today when they crucified Him, when they put Him on the cross, when they killed Him. But of course, He resurrected. We have to always keep that in our mind in the midst of any cross, that there's no cross without the resurrection. And there's no resurrection without the cross. It all goes hand in hand. Betrayal, cross, resurrection. But Jesus says, build your life on the rock. Because if you do not build your life on the rock, the winds will come, the storms will arrive. And when your house is built on the sand, the home will collapse. So we are to build our life on the rock. But notice, Jesus does not say, if you build your life on the rock, the storms will not come. He doesn't say that. He says, if you build your life on the rock, when the storms come, they will not destroy the house. So whether you build your life on the rock or on the sand, you'll still get the storms. The only difference is if we build our life on the rock, the storm won't destroy us. The cross won't be the end. And we have built our life on the rock, Jesus Christ. That means we're all going to be okay. When we carry our own cross in this life, we will be just fine. You will be okay in the midst of whatever cross you are carrying in your life. Notice the entire day today, Good Friday, is a day of silence. If you go to church, you will see that. The priest enters the sanctuary, prostrates himself in silence. It's silent. Why? Because what is the only answer that we can give to suffering? What's the only answer that is possible to the cross? Silence. To get it, that the only thing I know is that I know nothing. As Socrates would say, the great philosopher, the only thing I know is that I know nothing. I don't know why this happens to me or that happens to me. I don't know why this cross happened to me. I don't know. But I have to trust, like Jesus did, that God knows better, that there is a purpose to my situation. There's a purpose to the cross, and that God brings something way better out of any cross that we face in our life. God is bringing something beautiful out of whatever cross you are facing in this life. So we remain silent and we trust. We trust in the Lord. And we don't understand. And we look at the beauty of the cross, because it is because of the cross that we have been given the gift of eternity. The gates of paradise have once again been opened to us because of what Jesus did on the cross. He died for us. So much did God love each and every one of us that he sent his only son to die for us. Have you ever asked yourself, why is Jesus on the cross, especially for us as Catholics, with his body there always and his arms outstretched and nailed? Jesus' arms are always nailed to the cross because he can never close them. Jesus' arms are always nailed there so as to never be able to close his arms, because his arms are always open for you. God's arms are always open for you. So fall into those arms in the midst of your issues, in the midst of your situation, in the midst of your own cross. The one who wants to come after me, says Jesus, he is to pick up his cross every day and follow me. You know, there's a story about this man who was walking with a group of people, and everybody was carrying these big, heavy crosses. And he complained. Does that remind you of someone? He complained about his cross, and he cut the cross. He chipped it away. He took away part of the cross because it was too heavy for him, too big for him. And they got to a precipice, the edge of a cliff. And in order to cross to the other side, everybody else laid their cross across the two mountains and walked on the cross with the hole in the bottom there. They didn't fall into the hole because they were able to lay their crosses across the two mountain edges. So they just walked. Whereas he couldn't. He could not lay his cross there across the two mountains. He couldn't because he complained and cut his cross, chipped it away. It was too small to serve its purpose. Do you understand that each and every one of our crosses has a purpose in our life? We don't understand when we go through the cross what the purpose is. At some point in our life, we will get it. But for now, all we have to do is carry our cross without complaining. How many people love to complain about their cross? The cross that is their husband, or the cross that is their wife or their children or their job or their country. How many people complain about the United States of America? I'm sick and tired of it. If you don't like it, move to Russia. Try that for a bit. We have a wonderful country. We're so blessed. Actually, we're too blessed to be stressed. Are you too blessed to be stressed? That should be our attitude in life. I'm too blessed to be stressed, and I have to carry my cross. Carry our cross and not complain. That's what the Lord is asking of us in our life. Do you know that before the medieval age, before the medieval times, before the Middle Ages, in the Middle Ages, everything became sin and everything became gloom and darkness. I mean, people didn't go to communion their entire lifetime. Maybe they went once at their first communion and once when they were dying. That's why the viaticum, the last rites, is actually the reception of communion. It's not the oils. People think it's the oils, but it's really the reception of communion, because people wouldn't go to communion their whole life. Yeah, that's how it was. It was all darkness and gloom in the Middle Ages. But before that, crosses in the church always had a Jesus with a smiling face on it. So they would produce a cross, put the body of Jesus on it like we do. They're called crucifixes for Catholics. And the face of Jesus was always a smiling face. That's why on Good Friday, the tradition came in to cover the face of Jesus. That's why the body of Jesus is covered on Good Friday, because he had a smiling face when he's going through his cross. To remind the people that there always has to be joy. Why do we call Good Friday good? Have you asked yourself that question? It's good because of what happened. That through this suffering comes something better. God brings out something greater from a seeming bad. A greater good comes from the cross, from this which is happening. And that's what we have to do, and trust. I told you this story about the man who chipped away at his cross. He didn't want his cross. He's walking with people. Everybody's got their heavy cross, their big cross, their large cross, and he doesn't want it, so he cuts it. And when they get to the edge of a cliff, in order to cross from one edge to the next, from one mountain to the other, they all lay their crosses across the precipice, but he can't, because he cut his cross. So he can't cross. Everybody else does. They lay it and they walk. Stop trying to cut your cross. Carry your cross. That's the message of Jesus to us. If you want to be my disciple, if you want to be my follower, you got to carry your cross with a smile. Not with a gloomy face, with a smile. You know, I used to wait. Right now, you know, you look at me and you say, I can't believe that he was 325 pounds at one point in his life. Yes, when I was in the seminary, I weighed 325 pounds. Yeah. And I tried every single diet imaginable. The cabbage soup diet. Have you ever tried the cabbage soup diet? I don't recommend it. It has secondary and tertiary side effects. You become like a causes a lot of gas. I tried every single diet imaginable when I was in the seminary. I weighed 325 pounds and I couldn't lose weight. And then I kept asking the question when I was in the seminary, why can't I lose weight? Why? I'm trying everything in the world. I tried everything to lose weight and I couldn't. And then later on, it was revealed, while I was a priest already, that in the seminary, many of the young men who were there, my age, were sexually abused by the officials there. Not just priests, but we just had word last week that one of the professors, a layman, took advantage of seminarians at Mundelein Seminary, where I was. It was revealed just last week, when many seminarians and priests stepped forward and told their story, told the truth about what happened to them. But in December of 2020, news came out that one of the priests at the seminary where I went to in Michigan had abused seminarians sexually, took advantage of his position, his power, and abused young men who were in very vulnerable positions, very vulnerable young men who had come, most of them from Poland, to the United States, looking to be priests. And he, of course, had a lot of power over them, power and control. That is the recipe for abuse, when you have a lot of power and control, because absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And so lots of people who have power, including in the church, and we have seen this, can use it to abuse. And in this case, while I was in the seminary, many seminarians were abused sexually and in other ways too, psychologically, emotionally, because of the power and the control that certain individuals enjoyed with their positions. But I weighed 325 pounds at the time. And I called one of my friends who's a priest in Connecticut, and I said to him, how come this didn't happen to me when I was in the seminary? How come when I was in the seminary, I wasn't abused sexually? When I was in the seminary. Later on is a different story. But when I was in the seminary, it didn't happen to me. Why? I asked him. And he looks at me. We were doing FaceTime, and he says, why are you so stupid? He says, you were so well protected. You were protected. You think one of them would be interested in in someone who weighs 325 pounds? You were protected by your rolls and your spare tires. Do you understand? What I saw as a curse was actually a blessing. The cross that I carried in weighing 325 pounds while I was in the seminary was a blessing. Because if it wasn't for that, I probably would have ended up dead. Because at that time, psychologically, emotionally, I could not have survived. I know it. That type of trauma in being abused. Could not have survived it. God knows when we can carry a cross that He permits for us to carry in this life. God knows why you are carrying the cross that you are carrying. And you can do it! Alone, you can't. But with God, all things are possible. Isn't that what we profess and believe? That with God, all things are possible? Alone, you can't. But with Jesus, who is in you, and with you, you can do all things. You can do all things through Him who strengthens you. There is a purpose to your cross. There is a reason why. You don't understand it. That's why this day is a day of silence. We fall down on our face and we remain silent in the midst of our cross. Do you get it? I didn't understand it until years. I mean, I was already a priest for 10 years when things started coming out. About situations that had been taking place. And then the light bulb on. Now I get it. So it may take you years years in order to understand why it is that you are facing any type of cross in your life. You get it? All you have to do is trust. That's why Jesus told Saint Faustina in her diary. We read this, the diary of Saint Faustina, which is kind of like another Bible. I so recommend it. Jesus, the Divine Mercy, with the rays of blood and water coming out from his side. And notice his arm is always raised in blessing. I just love that picture. It's the most popular image in the Christian world outside of the cross, the image of the Divine Mercy. And Jesus told her, write down underneath the image, Jesus, I trust in you. Don't put down, Jesus, I believe in you, because anybody can believe. Even the devil believes in God. What do you want? A cookie because you believe in God? What's that good? What is that doing for you in your life, that you believe in God? Lots of people are great believers. Yeah, and so what? Yeah? Putin believes in God too, He's going to be going to Holy Week services the following week. Yeah, what does that do for him in his life? I mean, come on. The Nazis believed in God too. In fact, the motto of the Nazis was Gott mit uns. God is with us. Yeah, and? Hello? What is that doing for you? It's not about belief. It's about trust. That I trust God. I trust him. I may not understand it because I'm too thick in order to understand it. I don't understand it, but I trust. I trust in Jesus. That means I have to trust in myself because Jesus is in me. And that voice within me that is talking to me, that's Jesus. It's called the conscience. That's how God talks to all of us, through our conscience. He's guiding you. He's talking to you. He leads you. It's another wonderful book that I've read over again in these days, With God in Russia by Father Walter Ciszek. I so recommend that book, With God in Russia. He was imprisoned by the Soviets in gulags. That God is leading us. And God is with us. So everything is going to be fine. So that's the response. It's silence on Good Friday. And we carry our cross. May the Lord bless you today and always. And I bless you today and I bless you always on this Good Friday. Hello, hello. Share the good news that I know you can use.